Across Africa, many people continue to experience violence and discrimination on the basis of their real or perceived sexual orientation or gender identities and expression. SOGIE. People may identify in many ways: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, or non-binary, while others do not identify this way but are also persecuted because of how they are perceived. Regardless of how a person identifies or expresses their identity, and regardless of who they love or have sex with, they are entitled to the full protection of all human rights without any discrimination. Nobody should experience violence and discrimination on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity. The enjoyment of human rights in Africa is guaranteed by a range of global and regional treaties and instruments, including the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which guarantees a right for all people to equality and freedom from discrimination of any kind. Though the African Charter does not explicitly mention sexual orientation and gender identity, international law conventions broadly prohibit discrimination on this basis. The African Commission on Human and People's Rights has issued Resolution 275, aimed at protecting LGBT+ persons against violence and other human rights violations. The resolution makes it clear that the African Charter protects everyone, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity, and it strongly condemns violence or any other form of discrimination, abuse, or persecution based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Tragically common examples of such violence and discrimination in Africa include murder, rape, assault, arbitrary imprisonment and targeting of LGBT persons and their allies by law enforcement authorities or third parties. Even in states where LGBT+ identities and expressions have been decriminalized, there is often a persistence of negative social attitudes that lead to violence and discrimination. The International Commission of Jurists calls on governments across Africa to 1. Enact and implement laws prohibiting and punishing all forms of violence targeting persons based on SOGIE, and establish legal procedures responsive to the needs of victims. 2. Enact legislation aimed at prohibiting and preventing all forms of discrimination based on SOGIE in the enjoyment of human rights and ensuring redress for victims. 3. Ensure proper investigation and diligent prosecution of perpetrators of violence based on SOGIE. 4. Undertake campaigns to eradicate negative social attitudes and educate and sensitize law enforcement and judicial authorities to ensure respect for the human rights of LGBT+ persons. 5. Repeal laws that criminalize LGBT+ identities.